Hello, Friendly Hills Warriors, and happy March 1st. In the USA, every March we celebrate Women's History Month. This is a time when we can commemorate, appreciate, and celebrate all of women's contributions in all areas and walks of life. As scientists, doctors, teachers, artists, inventors, authors, and more. Throughout history, women have been underrepresented, discriminated against, and have had to work harder to have their voices heard in society. To celebrate Women's History Month this year in the IMC, I will be sharing a few books that highlight, honor, and reflect the stories of various inspirational women. Firstly, I will be sharing the story of Malala Yousafzai. There are actually two books for this that I am offering and that we have in the IMC because this one is a little higher reading level. This is for like 7th and 8th grade, and then this one's a little lower and easier to read. I'd recommend for 5th or 6th grade or just a lower reading level. Both are completely true stories written by the author, Malala, and it's just a very inspirational story of how one girl stood up for education and completely changed the world for many other girls. Ever since Malala was a young girl at the age of 10, she has stood up for what she believed in. When the Taliban in Pakistan forbid girls to go to school, she risked her life and demanded that girls be allowed to receive an education. She would write about her experience living in her once peaceful city that was taken over by terrorism and share it with BBC News. A few years after standing up for girls' rights, she was shot while riding the bus on the way home from school in 2012. She survived, and in 2014, she became the youngest person in history to receive the Nobel Peace Prize and continues to fight for girls' education to this day. The next book I'll be sharing is called The Lightning Dreamer. This is a book of poems, and it is actually a fictionalized biography of Cuban abolitionist Gertrudis Gomez de Avellanda, nicknamed Tula. The Lightning Dreamer tells the story of Tula, who finds poetry as a way to rebel against an arranged marriage, fight for freedom, and slander the institution of slavery. The story begins in Cuba in 1827 and focuses on Tula's life as a teenager, where she struggles to understand slavery, the practice of forced marriages, the oppression of women, and the denial of an education for girls. In a convent library, where she goes to for embroidery lessons, Tula discovers the banned books of Cuban rebel poet José María Heredia. The poems inspire her to write of the injustices around her. Tula becomes a poet, a novelist, a feminist, and an abolitionist, and was brave enough to speak up for those who could not. This book was written by a Cuban-American woman who was so inspired by Tula's poems that she decided to write poems of what she thought Tula's life was in Cuba at that time. The next book I'll be introducing is one of our battle books for this year, called Primates. This book is fully a graphic novel about the lives and careers of 3 of the most prominent women scientists and primatologists of the last 50 years. These 3 scientists, Jane Goodall, Dian Fossey, and Birute Galdikas, have dedicated their lives to the study of chimpanzees, mountain gorillas, and orangutans. In this book, we are introduced to these women as their younger selves, and we are given a truthful and captivating account of their successes, their failures, their sacrifices, and their passion for the acquisition of knowledge. It is an incredible jumping-off point to expanding every young girl's imagination and possibly awakening a curiosity that will stay with them to drive them for the rest of their lives. These women are responsible for some of the biggest advances in both primatology and understanding of what it means to even be human. If you are interested in science or primates or graphic novels, I would definitely recommend this book. The next book we will be diving into is a fiction novel called Amina's Voice. Amina is a Pakistani-American Muslim girl who has never been comfortable in the spotlight, and she's just happy hanging out in the background with her best friend, Sujin. Now that she's in middle school, everything feels different. Sujin is now hanging out with one of the cool girls in class, and now she wants to change her name to make it sound more white American. This causes Amina to wonder, should I change mine too? How do I fit in here? As Amina struggles to stay true to her family's vibrant culture while simultaneously blending in at school, a tragedy strikes her community and her local mosque is vandalized. In this book, you get to witness the power of a young girl using her voice to bring people together. The next book I will be sharing about is called Fly Girl by Sherry Smith. Fly Girl is a fictional story based on the true events of the women Air Force service pilots and their heroic feats. Fly Girl takes place in the United States during World War II, told from the perspective of Ida Mae Jones, a young black woman and recent high school graduate who has always wanted to do nothing but fly. She lives with her mother, grandfather, and 2 brothers in Louisiana. Her father, who passed away when she was 16, was a pilot and taught her how to fly in a crop plane when she was young. Ever since she was little, she has wanted to be a pilot. Now, Ida is saving up to go to Chicago to take the tests for her pilot's license. Because of her light-colored skin, she is able to pass as white and join the newly formed Women Pilot Program in the U.S. Army. This book follows her adventure and the adversity she faces throughout her journey. It is so important to acknowledge women in history and all of the amazing things that they have accomplished. By opening the dialogue and sharing diverse voices from women all around the world, we move forward in making the world a better place. If you are interested in any of these books, or of the hundreds more books we have here at the library in Friendly Hills, feel free to visit me in the IMC or email me right here for more requests or suggestions.